How can you skip the small talk and get into more meaningful conversations? Well, that's the exact question that Bruno, one of my subscribers, asked me. So I showed him one mindset and 5 conversation topics that make it almost impossible not to have deeper, richer conversations with the people around you. This video is the recording of our conversation. I hope you enjoy. I think this is probably one of the more crucial things for all of social skills, for all of communication skills, is that whenever you want somebody to do a specific thing, you generally need to be the first one to broach that topic, to go first, right? So if you want someone to be more vulnerable, if you want them to take things less seriously, you need to be the one to set that tone to go first. Because I think a lot of the time people want to talk about these things, but they don't want to be the one to like trauma dump or like just drop it all on you when you're having just a very surface level conversation. But I also think it's in the topics that you try to broach in general, because I would say there are about 5 main topics that I think about when I want somebody to go deeper. So the first one would be emotions, right? How do you feel about something? So if I was to take your example of that surface level conversation, talking with a guy at the gym, you could start with like, bro, don't you hate leg day? Like, it is absolutely the worst. It's so frustrating, right? Because I always end up walking out and I can't walk in a straight line. And then you ask him, how about you? And then he might say, you know, actually, I love leg day. It's the best, whatever it is. But then you're at least engaging on a little bit of a deeper level.
Yeah. So if I understand you correctly, I think this first idea of emotion takes you from the factual level to a slightly more emotional human level.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Because really, when you're in any conversation with somebody, that's how you get to connection, right? The facts, you know, you could talk for hours to ChatGPT and get facts, right? Yeah. But will you get the actual emotion that connect you with somebody, that help you relate with somebody? At the end of the day, that's really what I aim for when I'm thinking about connection, when I think about conversations. Then the second thing I would say is reasons, right? Because everyone has an underlying why behind why they do a certain thing. And I think those are very, very crucial, not only to getting deeper, but to understanding the person a lot better. So an example of that for the gym scenario is, bro, how come you're working out so hard? Like, are you working towards something? Or like, what's the situation here? Is it you're training for a 5K? Is it you're doing a bodybuilding competition? And you might be surprised how deep that conversation goes. It might be like, I was really chubby as a kid and I got bullied all the time. And that's why I wanted to get into, like, people have a ton of interesting reasons for those kind of things and things in general. But again, like I would say, I would generally lead with your reason first and then ask theirs, because people are going to feel very on the spot if you just ask them more vulnerable questions without offering some of your own, you know?
I think one of the reasons why I like the question why is, I don't know, I think it could encourage them to think a bit more deeply, and all of a sudden they might be like, yeah, why am I training so hard? Like, what is this subconscious or inner belief that's driving me, you know?
Dude, I totally agree. Like, that's one of the biggest kind of compliments I could get when I'm in a conversation with somebody is I am talking to them and I'm asking questions and they're like, you know, I never thought about that, or like, you just made me realize something about me that I didn't realize before. Like that, I walk home and I'm like, yeah, I'm that guy for real, you know? So yeah, I think that's really huge. By the way, Bruno is the first person who signed up for my online learning community, all about helping you improve your social skills and ability to connect with people. And in there, we'll be having weekly calls very similar to this one, where you can ask me for advice. If that sounds interesting, check out the link in the description. And by the way, the first 20 people get lifetime access for free. Now back to the convo. The third would be their beliefs, which is kind of related to feelings, but is more like, what is the thing they actually think about the world or think about life? Beliefs would be like, honestly, I feel like you're not really working out unless you're doing it every single day. And then you could ask them, what about you? What do you think? It could be hit or miss, right? Obviously, if you guys have 2 very conflicting beliefs, that may not be the best, right? So maybe not try to get into anything too political or too like super sensitive, but
yeah,
it's one direction you could take.
This is a small detail, but I think sometimes when you find something small to disagree on, it that could be a kind of a catalyst for more connection if you take that disagreement in the right way.
Dude, I think that's super true, because I like that word you use, catalyst, right? It could be a catalyst to kind of spark the person's attention and engagement and be like, no, I actually don't agree with that at all. And then they want to like refute it and get into a conversation with you. So yeah, it's a really good point. Well, the last two things is like the past, what led them to be the person that they are today. Were you always like this? So were you always this jacked? Or like, did you always have this gym routine? And then finally, I like to look at their dreams, right? What are their ideal things they want to be like, right? How do they want their life to be like? Dreams, it might be, so what's your dream physique? What are you working towards? What is the end goal of all this working out? What do you want to accomplish? So I think those are 5 real ways I look at it in trying to get more vulnerable with somebody, and the examples that you can use to get there. So now you know how to have deeper, more meaningful conversations. And if you liked this video, you're definitely going to like this one, where I show you step by step how you can meet people and interact with strangers to even turn them into friends. And spoiler alert, it's way easier than you think. But that's all from me. My name is Isaiah. I hope you have an amazing day. And above all else, I hope you keep connecting. Take care and good luck.